Hi everyone. So today we will be starting with Python first, and then we will eventually reach to agents. Okay. So a very basic question like what is an agent? Okay, or what is the agent's job? So basically, an agent takes a complex code and breaks it down into simple, manageable actions. And then if you ask like why Python? Why do we use Python? So Python is the language we use to define the goal, store the results, and create the tools or functions the agent can call. So whenever we are doing, I mean, when we are, so these are basically functions that we use or we create, and then through functions we execute these functions through these agents. Okay. And our today's focus or our first class today, so we will learn how these agent stores its instructions, its memory, and its internal decisions using basic Python structure. So today we'll start with variables and data types. Okay. So the agents, basically these are the agents or any agent's internal state. Okay. So a variable is basically is labeled is a labeled container that holds a piece of data. In agentic AI, variables hold configuration settings, user queries, and tool results as well. Okay, so to give you a very simple example, like any variable, if I want a particular, sorry, if I want to create a variable, I can create I can create a variable. So I'm defining a variable A, and then if I want to assign a value to A, so I'm assigning one. Okay, and then I go ahead and I print A. Okay, so now once I print A, um I will save my file. Okay, and then I can execute it. Okay, regarding the installation and regarding executing the files, I will come back to that one. Okay, but yes, so basically I will go to my particular location and then I will execute it. Okay, um what is the file name? Python AI. Okay. Okay, Python AI underscore 1.py. Now if I execute, so the result is 1. So because I've defined the variable as 1, and then I'm printing A, okay, so I'm printing the variable, that's why I'm getting that particular result. Okay. Now, before we begin, we will provide you the details of the application that you needed, the Python application and Visual Studio, how to get it installed. So don't worry about it. So in upcoming sessions, you will understand, or we will give you those details. Okay. Now, uh, so yeah, so as I was saying, a variable is basically a labeled container that holds a piece of data. And in agentic AI, especially like variables hold configuration settings, user queries, and tool results. Okay, uh, a string. So basically, one of the data types or I mean, whenever we are using variables, so what we have used right now is numbers or integers. Okay, so it can be integers, even floats. It can also be floats because floats are normally decimals. But yes, integers are. If you understand, like if you've done programming language, so whatever, like in other programming language, whatever definition we have for an integer, it's just the same. Okay, and floats are nothing but basically decimals. Okay, so first we'll start with a particular data type. It is called a string. Okay, in Python we define string as str. Okay, so this is how a string is defined. Okay, now there are two ways of doing it. Either you can define a particular string, or else by default, if I'm creating something, like for example, I'm creating a variable, I'm calling the variable as username. Okay, and then I want to assign a value. Okay, so my username is Alex. So if I'm providing anything in double quotes or single quotes, so this particular variable by default, it becomes the data type of this particular variable becomes string. Okay, now if you want to see uh, print username. Okay, so I'm printing it's type or data type. I think type, yes. Print type username. So now if I go ahead and execute, okay, so the class of this particular variable that I've created is string, str. Okay, now a string can be like, I mean, specific character or specific number of characters, or long characters as well. Okay, so for example, the first variable that we have created is username. We'll create another variable. We'll call it as, suppose, system prompt. Okay, so system prompt, we will define this. Your helpful coding assistant. Okay, so we are defining two variables. One is this name, username, and the second one is system prompt. Okay, now once we have defined this, okay, so once we have defined this, now next is we call it something called as f strings. Okay, f strings are very key when it comes to prompt engineering, and these are used to inject variables into text, which is very vital for building dynamic prompts. Okay, so the f before the quote, like for example, I'll give you an example. I'll create another variable, welcome message. Okay, for welcome message, I'll use something like this. So F, then I'll use hello. So F basically stands for formatting. Okay, so if you've heard of the term formatting, so F normally is used for formatting. Okay, so now if I want to use the variables that I've created, okay, in the string itself, okay, in the welcome message itself, so I'll use something like this. So I'll use curly bracket and then username. Okay, and then system prompt. That's it. And then if we go to the next line and then we print welcome message. Okay, so now basically, so this is quite important when we are using specially prompt engineering. If you are, I mean, we will come to that one when we start agentic AI. So basically, when we are providing prompts, how to use those prompts. Okay, so for that particular purpose, f or for f strings are very important. How to construct the different variables, or how to use the values or the prompts that are being passed, and then using that in a particular format or formatting that particular prompts, the strings that we are getting. So that is very important. So normally for that particular reason we use this F, where we can combine the prompts and then we can pass it. Okay, so now we are just printing this welcome message. Okay, so we combined hello, before we used hello before the username, and then we are using another text. Remember, you are a helpful coding assistant. Okay, now once we are done, let me save it. Okay, and then if I go ahead and execute. Okay, so basically what it's giving: hello Alex, remember you are a helpful coding assistant. Okay, so normally what happens when, especially in agentic AI, so the communication is human like, right? So basically, so that's why, so whatever output or whenever we are getting, it's very important to bring in or construct it in such a way so that it is it's in a human understandable form. Okay. Now, let's take a look at the another data type. So this is the first data type that we have looked string. We have looked into the string, and then we'll also take a look at another data type, that is numbers and float. Okay, so a use case basically, like suppose for example, for costs and settings, if we take a use case. Okay, now so this is used for calculations, budgeting, and controlling the any agent's behavior. So int basically represents integers, whole numbers, for example, a particular number. And then a float is basically a decimal number, like uh, any decimal number we can use. Okay, so now let's give it a try. Okay, now if I want to comment a particular section, I mean, I can comment out using these lines, or else you can use hash to comment out. Otherwise, I can also use triple quotes, okay, at the beginning and at the end, so that the whole section will be commented. Next, to use integers. So first we will create another variable. We'll call it as token underscore budget. Okay, and then we will create a float. Okay, and then we will create another variable. So tool reprise. Okay, so I'll suppose say 2. Okay, now so these are the two variables. So the first one is float, and the second one is an integer. Okay. Now, if I want to create a Boolean, okay. So Boolean is normally represented as something like this. Okay, now if I want to store only true or false, okay, so in a particular variable, so then the data type will be for that particular variable boolean, or bool. Okay, so this is basically the simplest logic gate for an agent. Like for example, like should I continue, or was the API call successful? So in that particular scenario, we use Boolean. Okay, so is tool ready? Okay, then true, and then we will create another task underscore failed false. Okay, so we are creating two more variables: is tool ready and task underscore failed. So two values, true and false. Okay, now. So if I want to define, or if I want to understand like whether what is the data type, again I can use type Okay. So to understand that, I'll just use print token budget. Okay. Now, I just don't want the value that I have passed into token budget. I want to see the data type. So I'll use type token budget. Okay. And then I'll save it and then I execute. Okay, so clear normally we use in the terminal for clearing whatever executions we have done in the past. Okay, so now if I execute again, so now this is float. Okay, again if I go ahead and try for tool retires or I'll just go for task underscore field. Okay, and then if I go ahead, so let me save it. And then if I execute, so this is Boolean. Okay, bool. Okay, so basically, I mean, there are also other data types. Okay, we will come to that, but more or less, we will be working around these data types. So within, I mean, even if we go ahead and create arrays or lists, so within the lists, we will have values with these data types as well. Okay, now I'll also comment out this section. Okay, now next, let's take a look at like lists. Okay. So lists are basically, I mean, we can call it an agent's short-term memory. Okay. So we normally like store values for the short term using sorry lists. Okay. So as part of a definition, so a list is an ordered collection of items, and in agentic AI. I mean, it's no different in agentic AI. The list is a list, so it's a Python concept. But in agentic AI, normally the list is the primary structure used to store conversation history or a sequence of steps in a plan. Okay. Now, just to give you an example, so what we can do is we can create and access lists. Okay. So normally lists are provided using square brackets. Okay. Now, if I want to create a list, so basically, for example, I'll create agent underscore plan. Okay, and then I can create something like this. Okay, suppose for example, first one stock data, and then summarize news reports. Draft recommendation. Okay. Okay, so this is the variable I have created, and then the data type for this particular variable will be list. So now again, if I want to print type agent plan, okay, so the data type for agent plan is list. Okay, and within that list, what we have the data type for uh, every item in that particular list is basically uh, string. Okay, str. Okay, now if I want to access, so now we have three items in that particular list. And then the indexing. Okay, so indexing is basically identifying what are the items in a list, and then if I want to target a particular item, so I can use that particular index. So remember, in Python, the indexing always starts with 0. So the first item will be 0, the second one, and the third one will be 2. Okay. So now if I want to target a particular item, so I can use something like this. First underscore step is agent plan. If I want to target the first item, I'll use 0. Okay. And then I'll use last step. Okay, last step, if I want to target, okay, that is draft recommendation. From the last I'll target, so agent plan, I'll use -1. Okay, so from left hand side, if you are going, this starts from 0. From right hand side, if you are coming, it starts with -1. Okay, and then again I will print. I mean, I can create a variable, but this time I'll just use print. Okay, so I'll use the f string concept. Okay, and then first step. Okay, now we are done. So now basically, if I go ahead and save it first, execute. So current step, search for stock data. Okay, so first step, since we have defined the variable as the first item in our list, so when we are doing, or when we are printing the first step, it is just giving us first step is search for stock data. Okay. Now, modifying a list is also important. So at times what happens, like we have to modify the list. We have to append, and we have to make changes to the list. Okay. So now what we have is a variable agent underscore plan. Okay. So now if I want to append something, okay, if I want to add items to that list, so we can use the method dot append that adds an item to the end of the list, simulating the agent adding a new message to its history or a new step to its plan. Okay, so we can use agent plan dot append, and then we can provide the value. Okay, value could be self correction and review. Okay, and then we can go ahead and print length of, so because basically we can use length to find how many items are there. Agent plan. Okay, so now if we save it and I want to execute, so basically it's giving me two prints. One print is where it says current step search for stock, and then the second print, total steps in plan 4. Okay, total steps in plan, which is basically 4, because earlier there were 3 items. Now I have added one more item, so it's giving me 4 items. Okay, now apart from that, we can also change items. If I want to change items, I can also do that. Okay, so like for example, uh, here, okay, earlier, if you remember, we had this. Okay, oh, let me just do it here itself. uh, Agent plan. So if I want to change the first item, okay, I want to change it to something else. So execute web search tool, and then I want to print. Okay, so I'm doing two prints. First print is basically for the variable when I have defined it the first step, and then I'm making some changes, and then I'm printing the same. I'm doing the same print again, so that I can showcase what is the difference before and what is the difference after. Okay, so now if I go ahead, use Control S, and then if I execute, so now we have, see, the first step, current step, search for stock data. Now after changing the current step, sorry, I think I have not saved it. Okay, sorry, my mistake. uh, so because the yeah, I understand now what happened. So see, I mean, yeah, this is a very good use case. We have defined agent plan. Okay, now after defining agent plan, now here what we are doing, we are changing the value of agent plan, okay, which is execute web search tool. Okay, but when we are printing it, we are not printing agent plan 0. We are printing this variable that we have created, which is as agent plan 0, first step. So since we are not making any changes with the variable, that's why it's taking the same value. So what I'll do, I'll recreate, or I'll override this variable as well here. Okay, so again, it will be after the change, again it will be defined. The agent, sorry, the variable will be redefined here. Okay, so now if I save it and then I clear and execute, so now you see the current step, execute web search tool. Okay, so basically, what we have done, we have overwritten this first step variable, and then we are just printing it out. Okay. So guys, so that's it for this session. So this is how basically we can work with different variables and then the data types. Okay. Thank you.